The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with hushed whispers and furtive glances as the central holographic display projected the latest intelligence reports on humanity. The chamber was a blend of timeless elegance and imposing authority, vaulted ceilings adorned with intricate carvings, seats arranged in concentric tiers, and a central dais where the presiding council speaker stood. Representatives from the elder species, whose civilizations had shaped galactic policy for millennia, exchanged uneasy looks. The speaker, a towering Vorthax with iridescent scales that shimmered in the chamber's artificial light, raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. The matter of humanity demands immediate attention. Their actions defy precedent, their methods defy logic, and their refusal to adhere to our authority is a direct challenge to the harmony we have maintained for thousands of cycles. A hologram flickered to life, showing the aftermath of a recent skirmish near the Delpar expanse. A human mining vessel, sleek and unassuming, had inadvertently entered a restricted zone patrolled by the Council's peacekeeping fleet. What followed was a textbook example of human ingenuity and audacity. Faced with overwhelming odds, the humans deployed a pulse weapon that disabled the Council's ships without causing casualties. The mining vessel then escaped unscathed, leaving the fleet stranded. "Their technology is unorthodox," an elder Vorthax ambassador hissed. "They circumvent protocols, avoid confrontation unless provoked, and yet they wield weapons that suggest an understanding of physics far beyond their years." A representative from the Larians, a younger species known for their adaptability, interjected. "Perhaps we are misinterpreting their intentions. The humans have not shown overt aggression. They act with precision, not recklessness." The chamber erupted into debate. Accusations flew, ranging from claims that humans sought galactic domination to speculation that their actions were born of ignorance rather than malice. Yet beneath the heated arguments lay a deeper unease. For centuries, the Council had been the undisputed arbiter of interstellar relations. Every species, no matter how powerful or unruly, eventually bent the knee to its authority. Humanity's refusal to even acknowledge the Council's legitimacy was a crack in this carefully maintained facade. Reports from the field painted a picture of a species both resourceful and unpredictable. Human colonies flourished in environments deemed uninhabitable by other species. They transformed barren wastelands into thriving trade hubs, attracting not only their own kind but also members of other species disillusioned by the Council's rigid bureaucracy. The humans' adaptability, coupled with their insatiable curiosity, made them both respected and feared. A Zyran delegate, whose species was known for their vast intelligence networks, presented another report. "It is not only their technology we must consider but their psychology. Humans are difficult to predict. Their decisions often defy logic as we understand it. Their history is rife with conflict, yet they demonstrate an uncanny ability to unite under shared purpose when faced with external threats." The speaker's voice cut through the noise. "And yet, they refuse to negotiate. Refuse to join. They have no allies within this council, no seat at this table. They are an anomaly, a rogue actor in a galaxy of order." This point hit hard. The council's strength lay in its ability to mediate, to enforce treaties and maintain peace through diplomacy backed by the threat of overwhelming force. But how does one negotiate with a species that outright rejects the process? To many in the chamber, humanity's stance was not just a challenge, it was an insult. The debate shifted to potential responses. Sanctions were proposed but immediately countered with skepticism. Humanity had already established alternative trade networks with fringe systems outside the Council's jurisdiction. Military action was discussed, but the demonstration in the Delpar expanse lingered in everyone's minds. If humans could disable a fleet without a single shot fired, what else might they be capable of? The Larians again voiced caution. "If we move against them prematurely, we risk solidifying their defiance. Worse, we may provoke them into becoming the very threat we fear. Perhaps this is an opportunity to reconsider the rigidity of our systems." This suggestion was met with scorn from the elder species. "The Council's structure is the foundation of galactic stability," roared a Drelk ambassador, his barbed limbs thrashing. "Humanity's actions threaten to undo millennia of progress. We must act decisively." And yet, the undercurrent of doubt remained. Even the most stalwart defenders of the Council's authority could not deny the allure of humanity's independence. A representative from the Ballari Consortium spoke cautiously. It is not just the humans who are watching us. Other species, especially those who feel marginalized by our decisions, see their defiance as a beacon. If we do not tread carefully, this situation could spiral beyond our control. The speaker finally called for order, their voice resonating with the gravitas of centuries of leadership. We face a crossroads. Humanity's defiance is a test, not just of our power but of our principles. The question is not only what they are capable of, but what we are willing to risk to preserve our way of life. Let us deliberate carefully, for the consequences of our decision will ripple across the galaxy. As the session adjourned, the tension in the chamber was palpable. Fear of the unknown had taken root, and for the first time in centuries, the Council found itself grappling with an adversary it could neither predict nor control. The Human Leadership Council convened in a dimly lit conference room on an orbital station above Earth. The room was a stark contrast to the grandeur of the Galactic Council chambers, with utilitarian design and practical furnishings that reflected humanity's no-nonsense approach. Around the table sat representatives of humanity's fragmented power structure, diplomats, corporate executives, military leaders, and the enigmatic figure who had become the face of the Independence Coalition. Let's get one thing straight, the coalition leader began, their tone sharp and unwavering. The Galactic Council doesn't want partners. They want subordinates. Every species they've integrated has ended up shackled to their system. That won't be humanity's fate. A diplomat from the United Earth Alliance leaned forward, their voice measured but urgent. If we continue to reject their overtures, we risk isolation, or worse, military confrontation. We've built alliances and fringe systems, but those won't hold up against a full Council blockade. The coalition leader smirked. Let them blockade us. Their systems rely on trade and resources just as much as ours. Do you think the elder species will tolerate disruption when their luxuries start drying up? They underestimate us because we're new, but they're the ones clinging to outdated hierarchies. We've outpaced them in every measurable way. A corporate magnate interrupted. Outpaced, sure. But let's not underestimate their collective power. One unified strike, and they could cripple key industries overnight. Our strength lies in being unpredictable, yes, but also in avoiding direct confrontation. We need to keep them guessing. The debate revealed the stark divisions among humanity's factions. The Independence Coalition, which had captured the imagination of much of the populace, was adamant about severing any ties to the Council. They argued that humanity's innovation and resilience had always been born from defiance and independence. To them, joining the Council meant sacrificing that edge. On the other side of the table, the diplomats and moderates warned of the long-term consequences of total noncompliance. The Council is fractured, yes, one of them conceded. But they're not powerless. We need to offer some level of engagement, even if it's only symbolic. Refusal without dialogue risks painting us as the aggressors. The coalition leaders shook their head. Dialogue? With what goal? To be heard? To be understood? The Council doesn't listen. They dictate. That's the fundamental issue. They can't fathom a species that won't bow to their authority, and that terrifies them. Their fear is our leverage. The conversation shifted to the broader implications of humanity's stance. Reports from human colonies painted a mixed picture. While many celebrated their autonomy, others feared retribution. Fringe systems and rogue Council species, drawn by humanity's defiance, had begun aligning with them in quiet but significant ways. Trade routes bypassing Council control were flourishing, bolstered by human ingenuity in logistics and technology. We've created an economy that's already rivaling their core systems, the corporate magnate said, their voice tinged with pride. They can sanction us all they want. We've proven that their control is an illusion. But that's also why they're panicking. A military leader, silent until now, finally spoke. And if their panic turns to action? Let's not forget the incident in the Dalpar Expanse. They've seen what we can do, but that doesn't mean they won't push harder. If they come at us with a full fleet, we'll need to demonstrate more than just defensive capabilities. This brought the conversation to humanity's growing arsenal. The quantum disruptor, a technology still shrouded in secrecy, had already proven its effectiveness. It had disabled Council ships without a single fatality, a feat that sent a clear message: humanity could neutralize threats without engaging in outright violence. But the implications of this technology extended far beyond defense. One of the scientists involved in its development, present as an advisor, spoke cautiously. The disruptor is a game changer, yes, but it's also a double-edged sword. The more we use it, the more attention it draws. If the Council realizes its full potential, they'll stop at nothing to replicate or destroy it. The coalition leader leaned forward, their eyes sharp. Then we use it strategically. We've already shown them what it can do. Now we let the fear of the unknown do the rest. They don't know how far we're willing to go, and that's our advantage. But we also need to make it clear that we're not looking for war. Our strength lies in showing them that there's another way. This statement brought a rare moment of agreement across the room. Despite their differing strategies, all factions understood that humanity's goal was not conquest but independence. They didn't seek to dismantle the Galactic Council outright, only to carve out a space where humanity could thrive on its own terms. As the meeting drew to a close, the coalition leader delivered a final remark that hung heavy in the room. The Council sees us as a threat because we represent something they can't control. But what they don't realize is that their fear of us is rooted in their own failures. We're not here to destroy their system, we're here to prove that their system isn't the only way. Let them come to terms with that, or let them try to stop us. Either way, humanity will stand on its own. The Galactic Council reconvened, this time with a grim air of urgency. The chamber was filled with representatives who had grown increasingly polarized over the human question. Recent events had pushed the situation to a boiling point. Sanctions against humanity had proven ineffective, and their trade networks, bolstered by alliances with fringe systems and rogue factions, continued to thrive. Worse, reports of the quantum disruptor had leaked beyond the Council's control, sowing fear among its members. The speaker's voice carried a sharper edge now. Our intelligence confirms that humanity possesses a weapon capable of neutralizing entire fleets. If left unchecked, this disruptor will destabilize the balance of power we have upheld for millennia. The elder species were quick to respond. A Vorthax ambassador spoke with barely restrained anger. They've already humiliated our patrols. This disruptor is a threat to every system in this chamber. If we do not act, we risk emboldening them further. But not all shared this view. A Larian representative countered. And if we act rashly, we risk proving their point, that the Council seeks only to control, not to coexist. The humans have yet to strike offensively. Their technology, while advanced, has been used defensively and without bloodshed. Shouldn't we at least attempt dialogue before we escalate this conflict? The chamber split, arguments breaking out across factions. The younger species, many of whom had long felt marginalized by the elder species' dominance, were beginning to question the Council's authority altogether. Humanity's defiance had stirred something deep within them, an idea that perhaps the Council's unchallenged rule wasn't as infallible as they had been led to believe. As the debate raged on, a transmission from humanity interrupted the session. The holographic display in the center of the chamber flickered to life, showing the calm, composed face of a human representative. The message was clear and unyielding. We have no interest in war, but we will not submit. Your sanctions do not deter us. Your blockades do not bind us. If you seek to escalate, understand this: we will not be the ones to fire the first shot, but we will defend ourselves with every resource at our disposal. Consider this a demonstration, not a threat. The transmission ended, and moments later, reports flooded into the chamber. A Council fleet stationed near the human-controlled colony of Tarsus had gone silent. Surveillance drones captured the event. A single human vessel had approached the fleet and released an energy pulse. Within seconds, every Council ship had been rendered inert, their systems disabled but otherwise undamaged. The humans did not fire another shot. They simply left, leaving the fleet stranded and humiliated. The Council erupted into chaos. The elder species demanded immediate retaliation, citing the disruptor as an unacceptable destabilizing force. The younger factions saw the act as proof of humanity's restraint, arguing that the humans could have destroyed the fleet if they had wanted to but chose not to. The speakers struggled to regain control of the session. Amid the chaos, an emergency intelligence briefing was presented. It revealed the scale of humanity's advancements, quantum-based technologies that the Council's brightest minds were only beginning to theorize, trade routes that bypassed traditional systems with unprecedented efficiency, and colonies that thrived in environments considered uninhabitable. But the most alarming detail was the growing number of species, both within and outside the Council, that had begun aligning with humanity. Not all were formal alliances, some were acts of quiet rebellion, such as providing resources or intelligence to human factions. The fractures within the Council deepened. Some elder species, desperate to maintain their hold on power, began pushing for a preemptive strike. The Vorthax proposed deploying a combined fleet to human territories, not to destroy, but to occupy and dismantle their infrastructure. The Drelk, known for their ruthlessness, even suggested sabotaging humanity's colonies through covert means. But the younger species pushed back. A Larian representative delivered a fiery speech that resonated across the chamber. "We stand at a turning point. Humanity does not defy us out of arrogance but because our system no longer serves the galaxy as a whole. We claim to be a council of unity and progress, yet we stifle innovation and independence. Are we so afraid of change that we would destroy an entire species to maintain an illusion of control?" This sentiment was not lost on the elder species, though many refused to acknowledge it openly. The Council's strength had always been its unity, but humanity's defiance was exposing the cracks in that foundation. The realization was dawning: if humanity's vision gained traction, it could inspire a wave of rebellion across the galaxy. The speaker called for a recess, but even during the break, the chamber buzzed with heated discussions. Alliances were forming and dissolving in real time as representatives debated their next move. In private corners, whispers of dissent grew louder. Could the Council survive this challenge intact, or was humanity's defiance the beginning of the end for its centuries-old structure? Before the session resumed, another transmission from humanity arrived, this time more measured. The same human representative appeared, their tone calm but firm. "We understand your fear. Change is never easy, but progress requires it. We are not here to destroy the Council, but neither will we be bound by it. We offer an alternative, a decentralized alliance, where every species retains its sovereignty but collaborates as equals. This is the future we propose. The choice is yours." The message left the chamber in stunned silence. For the first time, the Council was forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. Humanity's vision of the galaxy was fundamentally different, yet it appealed to the growing dissatisfaction among its own members. The question now was not just whether they could control humanity, but whether they could control the narrative that humanity had sparked. The cracks in the Council's authority were widening, and no one knew how far they would spread. The Council chamber was a cauldron of tension as the final session began. The speaker's voice carried a gravity that demanded attention, though even their commanding tone could not fully mask the fracturing unity within the Council. The stakes were clear. Humanity's counter-proposal had disrupted centuries of precedent, and every faction now faced a decision that would reshape the galaxy. "We are gathered," the speaker began, "to address the most critical challenge to our authority since this Council's inception. Humanity has defied our mandates, evaded our sanctions, and offered an alternative that threatens the very foundation of our governance. And yet they have not declared war. They have not struck offensively. The question before us is simple: do we adapt, or do we retaliate?" The elder species immediately pushed for decisive action. A Vorthax ambassador stood, their deep voice reverberating across the chamber. "To adapt is to admit weakness. To yield to humanity's demands is to invite chaos. They are a young, reckless species that knows nothing of the balance we have maintained. If we do not act now, we risk losing all authority. The only path forward is to strike, to dismantle their infrastructure and remind them of the Council's strength. But this time, the younger factions did not stay silent. A Larian delegate rose, their voice steady but impassioned. You speak of balance, yet what balance have we truly maintained? The Council has long served the interests of the elder species, while the rest of us are left to navigate its bureaucracy and submit to its demands. Humanity's defiance is not a threat, it is a mirror reflecting the flaws of this institution. If we strike at them, we risk not just a war but the collapse of everything we claim to stand for. The chamber murmured with agreement from several corners, though the elder species looked on with disdain. The debate was no longer just about humanity. It was about the Council itself, its purpose, its legitimacy, and whether it could survive in a galaxy that was changing faster than its rigid structures could adapt. Amid the heated arguments, an unexpected voice spoke up. The Ballari Consortium representative, whose species had always tread carefully between the elder and younger factions, addressed the chamber. We have always prided ourselves on being a body of diplomacy, not conquest. Yet here we are, debating whether to wage war on a species that has not fired a single shot in aggression. Humanity's proposal is not an act of rebellion. It is an opportunity. Perhaps the time has come for us to evolve. This statement sent ripples through the chamber. The idea that the Council itself might need to change was not new, but to hear it spoken so openly by a representative of a traditionally neutral species carried weight. The speaker, recognizing the shift, called for a vote, not on humanity's actions, but on the future of the Council's structure. The vote was tense and divided. The elder species, unwilling to relinquish their dominance, voted overwhelmingly against any form of reform. But the younger species, emboldened by humanity's example, rallied together. When the final tally was presented, the chamber was deadlocked, a result that underscored the very fractures humanity's defiance had exposed. It was then that another transmission arrived from humanity. The holographic display activated, showing the face of the same human representative who had delivered the counter-proposal. Their tone was calm but firm, their words measured with the precision of someone fully aware of the stakes. You have reached a crossroads. The galaxy stands on the brink of transformation, not because of us, but because of the questions we have raised. We have no desire to dictate your path, only to forge our own. If you see us as a threat, then let us be clear, we will defend ourselves, but we will not attack. If you see us as a partner, then know that our vision is one of equality, not subjugation. The choice is yours, but understand this, change is inevitable. The only question is whether you embrace it willingly or resist it to your detriment. The transmission ended, and the chamber fell into a stunned silence. The clarity and conviction of the message struck a chord even among those who had previously dismissed humanity as an upstart species. For the first time, the Council was forced to confront the reality that humanity's defiance was not an act of rebellion but a catalyst for something far greater. The speaker, their voice heavy with the weight of history, addressed the chamber one last time. We stand at a precipice. To continue as we are is to invite further division, not just with humanity, but within this Council itself. To adapt is to risk everything we have built, but perhaps it is the only way to preserve it. The decision we make today will echo for generations. Let us choose wisely. In the end, the Council reached a compromise, reluctant, fragile, but significant. The elder species retained their positions of influence, but concessions were made to decentralize certain powers, allowing greater autonomy for member species. Humanity was offered a position within this reformed structure, though not as a subordinate. They would remain independent, serving as both a participant and an observer, a role that acknowledged their defiance without forcing compliance. The decision was not without its consequences. Some elder species seethed at what they saw as a capitulation, while younger factions celebrated it as a victory. Humanity, for its part, accepted the terms cautiously, aware that this was only the beginning of a much larger journey. As the session concluded, the chamber buzzed with uncertainty and possibility. The Council had survived, but it was no longer the unassailable authority it once claimed to be. Humanity had not just secured its independence, it had reshaped the galaxy's future. The cracks in the Council's foundation had been revealed, and what would grow from them was a question that no one could yet answer.